Hi guys, and welcome back to Now I See on COIC. Today we continue with our guest Debbie. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
In our previous episode, you mentioned that you weren't looking for God and that you were brought to the church by a school friend. What attributes did your friend have that attracted you to her to come?
God is always seeking us. I think that's the really important thing.
Yeah.
God is always seeking us. He's always looking for the lost sheep. And He sends people to us to awaken our conscience and our spirit and our desire to look for Him. The person I was going to school with was simply just an Egyptian girl. And she was part of a Coptic family. And it wasn't that she took me to church. It was that she placed me within the knowledge or within the embrace of a Christian family first, which is really the first church. So just being in the house and seeing how they relate to each other and talking, and things are dropped, suggestions.
Yeah.
And Christ was absorbed by me organically. They were Christian. And people always say, oh, how many Gospels are there? And we all know as Christians there's Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. But for somebody like me, I don't have a Bible at home. And so Matthew, Mark and Luke and John mean nothing to me. But there is a fifth Gospel. And the fifth Gospel has everyone's name on it. So it's the Gospel of Mina, or the Gospel of Magdi, or the Gospel of Sue, or the Gospel of Amira. And it's through that Gospel that people who don't know God can be exposed to the love of God. And then the church comes later. So that's how it happens. And I think we all have that responsibility now, we who know Him, to be His light and His salt and His gospel to those people who are living in darkness and in just without Him. Yeah, so it's an easy process.
Yeah.
If we're genuine to our faith, then so many people can come to the knowledge of God.
Yeah, great. How did you tell your other friends that you were Christian?
Yeah, I don't even think I used the word Christian. I just said I'm going to this place on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I'm brought up in the Sutherland Shire. So, surfing and beach life was the go at that time. And I kept, missing Sunday and like, where are you going? And I'm going to this place. And because it was an ethnic, and that's something I'd liked. Yeah.
In the Shire, yeah.
Yes. An ethnic church is very heavy. And because Orthodox churches are so intertwined with culture, whether it's the Indian Orthodox or the Greek Orthodox or the Eritrean Orthodox, with it there will be this culture, and so you're hanging out with ethnics.
Yeah.
And it was difficult for them to understand. And over the years, people follow you as well, and they come into the embrace and the knowledge of God. Some don't. They can't understand it, and they fall away. But God always makes that void very full, and so you don't feel it. And you're in a nice place, so it doesn't matter.
Great.
Yeah.
You also mentioned about your marriage with your former boss at the time.
Yes, he was.
Your boss at the time.
Yes, I was later married by His Grace Bishop Antonius Marcos and His Grace Bishop Ashaya from Tahta in Egypt. So yes, it was a big day, and definitely ordained by God, definitely.
Yeah.
The plan was there for a long time ago, and the two of us as servants, it's allowed the service of the family to continue. So it's important, that you listen to obedience to God, and He has everything planned. If I look back, I can see His footprints every day from the moment I, even as a child, I know that He was looking for me and He was watching over me, and everything that I've experienced over my life now is part of my service. And all the components were there. And it's just, I don't know, walking with Him, and He allows it to happen.
As being part of a mixed marriage in the Coptic Church, what is your experience?
Okay. Well, initially, as a family, we have to fit into the parish. And when the kids were born, there's the question, do we teach them Arabic and do we teach them Coptic? So we tried all that for a while, and for a little while they were okay, and I managed to have enough Arabic to help. Wasn't great, but we thought that would be good. But in the end, as they grow and they're teenagers, English is their bottom language. It's their main language. And so I started serving in Sunday school, and then I later served in the youth meetings. And I think my presence there sort of, it has to be in English because I have to speak in English.
Yeah.
And bit by bit, parish life has changed. If you turn the clock back 40 years, it was very Arabic dominated. But now if you go to any Coptic church, the Sunday school's all in English, and the youth meetings are definitely all in English. And in the lands of immigration, which we refer to any Coptic church outside of Egypt, the mother language of that country is spoken and used. And I don't think we've arrived fully where it's all English. And that's a debate that's going on now. But certainly the Coptic community are very welcoming, and they're very, their motive is to welcome people into the life and family of Christ. And they will go above and beyond what's needed to make people comfortable. Our role as non-Egyptians is not to be judgmental and not to be too forceful and sort of, God has His time, and of course it'd be lovely back then to have sermons in English, but it wasn't the time. And now we have CYC, and so it's broadcast all over the world, and people are tuning in and finding out, who Christ is through the Orthodox faith and through the Coptic Church. And that in itself for me is a miracle. We could not have dreamt of CYC. It wasn't even on our scale or our Richter scale of mission or evangelism or outreach. And so the young people now, you sitting there on a CYC channel, it's like, wow, like we could not have dreamt that. So everything in God's time. Mixed marriages now, I think it's the norm. And when you think about, Australian Copts, they're a third culture. They're not Australian, they're not Egyptian, they're a hybrid of both. And so the services within the church must target these young people. And therefore, very few read and write Arabic and speak Arabic fluently. They're struggling with Coptic. And so the church and the servants and the body of Christ must adapt quickly so that we can retain these people. And so, I think God has a plan, and I think the mixed marriages, to answer your question, Anna, the mixed marriages, God has a purpose for them. And I think it's so that the church adapts to us, and by default will adapt to their own young people through that service and through that understanding.
How important is it to have the services in English or in the mother tongue of the country that the church resides in?
Okay, I'll give you my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. Firstly, the disclaimer is, I think Coptic is a beautiful language. And because the Coptic Church is a magnificent, rich, traditional church, Orthodox church, we can never lose this link with who we are. So the Coptic must remain. Arabic is just the language of the people at the time of the invasion in the 7th century in Egypt. Arabic has been brought in, which people think is not a good thing, but it's a blessing, so that when we now encounter non-Christian Arabic speaking people, we have a language to converse with them. So it's a blessing that we have both Coptic and Arabic. As the mission has spread throughout the world, starting with Saint Athanasius in the 4th century, taking the Coptic faith, the Orthodox faith, into Ethiopia, and now you have a full Amharic speaking Coptic Ethiopian Orthodox Church. As we progress through the world, the Church must accept that the language of the host country must be incorporated into the services. We can't afford to lose one soul. We can't afford to lose one child of a mixed marriage, nor the child of a Coptic family that no longer speaks the mother tongue of Arabic or Coptic. So it's important. It's important that the language is the message of Christ is passed in the tongue of the heart of those people. For me personally, if I'm in the middle of a beautiful Coptic Mass and I've got my eyes closed and maybe I understand some of the Coptic, but then you get to a bit that is only recited once a year, like on Good Friday, and I don't know it well enough, and I have to open my eyes and I have to focus on a screen or a book, I lose something of the Spirit because I'm not hearing it with my eyes closed and I'm not somewhere else hearing those prayers. And if it's only language, then what's the problem? I saw a manuscript recently of Saint Shunuti, who had a monastery in Upper Egypt. And at his time, the authorities were forcing our congregation, Coptic congregation, to pray in Greek. Now, Coptic and Greek are very similar, and yet Saint Shunuti was fighting with them that the prayers must all be in Coptic so that the people can understand 100%. So this is not a new debate, and it's not a new struggle that the church has had. It's had for centuries. When Saint Athanasius Ambasalama was the priest that was shipwrecked in Ethiopia, and when he made his way back to Egypt, he was speaking 100% Amharic. And Saint Athanasius, in his wisdom, said, "God bless you, get back and take the faith. You know the language, go." And now they are an autonomous Orthodox church. They're just like us, but everything is culturally centered around the Ethiopian culture. And it's beautiful, and God willing, it will continue, So again, CYC comes up, If we don't have CYC, we don't hear things in our language, and the youth don't hear it, and it's so important.
Yeah. You mentioned you understand Coptic and Arabic.
Poorly.
You understand Arabic. Is it because when you first joined the church that everything was in Arabic, that because of that situation, it's forced you to learn it? Yeah, and not everyone, I wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't be able to learn Arabic. Just
you can, but
attend the liturgy. Yeah.
Should you?
It's a lot of work. Yeah.
Yes, it is, and it's a lifetime. And I was saying to someone recently, even if you do speak Arabic and you do speak Coptic, it's never going to be like English to me. And so it's a lifetime. Yeah. It's more than a lifetime.
Yeah, it's true.
And you can't always do that. And sometimes you don't even have the time to do that. So I can't say to you, hey, learn Coptic and then come to, the midnight praises. Yeah. Because it's going to take you years and years and years, unless you're an absolute scholar in language, which few people are. And so we don't have the time,
How long did it take you to learn Arabic?
I'm still learning. Yeah. I'm still learning.
I can relate to that when you were saying that everything needs to be in your mother tongue, because even when the priest prays, Kyrie eleison, obviously means Lord have mercy. In my head, I'll just stand there and I'll just say it out loud, Lord have mercy, myself, because it means so much more to me.
Yes, it reaches your heart.
Yeah. Lord have mercy.
Yeah. The story of Christ himself is a mission church. He leaves a throne room and his Father, and he is thrown into a miserable stable to the most lowly of human beings and amongst animals. The story of Christ is of mission.
Yeah.
It is of that sacrifice. So, of course, by default, we
Do you
cannot...
see the potential here, though, in Sydney, for a mission church?
There already is.
Yeah.
It's been here for a long time. It's there. It's there. People have their opinions of what it should look like. Back in 2005, there were approximately 50 families that we got together, and we had a 110% liturgy in English. It was coupled with the British Orthodox Church, which is part of the Coptic Orthodox. And a lot of effort went into that liturgy and into that group of people. It just wasn't the time to continue it. So here we are in 2015, and we're still talking about it. And in God's time, it will happen, and it is happening. The fact that the mixed marriage families are mission.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you,
Unfortunately,
Anna.
we have run out of time again.
It's a great topic. It's really interesting.
So tune in to our next episode with Debbie. Until then, thanks for watching. God bless.